them is from the long poem of mine called the Zodiac, in which I try to explore some of the connections between poetic inspiration and the circulation of the blood, and the circulation of the blood, especially when it contains large amounts of alcohol. The main part of the poem has to do with a man who's been a sailor. He's still a young man, less than 30, but he's misused himself in his life so hard from drinking and wandering and attempt to write poetry which he cannot write, which will be, he's attempting, like all poets do, to go beyond what words really can be asked to do, to say the impossible, to write the impossible poem which will make all things manifest and will say something about articulating the secret of the universe through the magical medium of human language, the thing the poet is always trying to do, whether he knows it or not. But he thinks somehow or another that God, in putting the stars into the patterns that we see every night on the night sky, that is, in creating the animals of light and fire and immense distances, was trying to do something analogous to what the earthly poet is trying to do in a much lesser way, but they're similar. And the poet's part, the man's part emulating God, has been to try to read God's images in the stars and give them names, the names of earthly things, animals, for example, rams, fish, lions, so on, and to invent the animals of the zodiac and to project those on God's animals, which are nameless except for the names that we give them. He thinks also, but he's ruined his life. He has no money. He's a Dutchman. He thinks that really the only thing that can save him and make his poem possible is a lot of drink and the European tradition of the poetic imagination, which goes all the way back to the Greeks and beyond before them. That's the tradition that he, as a European poet, belongs to. He thinks there's something in that, something in the continuity with his tradition of European poetry that will be helpful to him in some way. He doesn't know whether it will be that, or his drunkenness, or the fact that his father was an amateur astronomer, or the fact that he can say what he wants to. He can put words down on a page and they will be the words that he put down there. That to him comes to seem miraculous. But he thinks many times of giving up, that the poem can't be written. He should no longer ruin his life trying to write it, but at the end he feels that he will continue. Here he is, and he's not exactly in a garret, but in a very poor room with very little furniture in it, in Amsterdam. A day like that, but afterwards the fire comes straight down through the roof, white lightning nightfall, a face-up flash, poetry, triangular eyesight. It draws his fingers together at the edge around a pencil. He crouches bestially. The darkness stretched out on the waters pulls back, humming Genesis. From wave stars lifts a single island, wild with sunlight, the white sheet of paper in the room. He's far out and far in, his hands in a field of snow. He's making a black horizon with all the moves of his defeated body. The virgin sheet becomes more and more his, more and more another mistake. But now, oh God, you rocky landscape, give me drop by drop desert water at least. I want now to write about deserts. And in the dark, the sand begins to cry for living water that not a sun or star can kill, and for the splayed camel prints that bring men. And the ocean, with its enormous crooning, begs for haunted sailors, for refugees putting back flesh on their ever-tumbling bones to man that fleet. For in its ships only the sea becomes the sea. Oh, my own soul, put me in a solar boat. come into one of these hands bringing quietness and the rare belief that I can steer this strange craft to the morning land that sleeps in the universe on all horizons, and give this home-come man who listens in his room to the rush and flare of his father, drawn at the speed of light to heaven through the wrong end of his telescope, expanding the universe, the instrument, the tuning fork. He'll flick it with his bandless wedding finger, which, at a touch, reveals the form of the time-loaded European music that poetry has never really found, undecipherable as God's bad heavenly sketches involving fortress and flower, vine and wine and bone, and shall vibrate through the Western world so long as the hand can hold its island of blazing paper and bleed for its images, make what it can of what is, so long as the spirit hurls on space the star beasts of intellect and madness.